Hi there, my name is Sandra. I'm the principal broker with the Mortgage Center in Guelph. Thanks so much for joining me. This is a special webinar for real estate agents in helping them sell real estate in a rising mortgage rate environment. And what you'll learn today is how we do hundreds of mortgages each year, what we see in our office and how clients tend to make decisions. For your seller clients, I will go through a scenario to show you how you can explain the benefits of upgrading in a downturn economy. And the last item that you'll learn today is when you're working with first-time home buyers, why adjusting expectations now is a long-term game. And really, consumers make home buying choices based on monthly payments. And, I always, we always start the conversation with clients on, like, what do you think you can afford per month? And then we work back from that. So if a client says, well, I can afford a $3,000 a month mortgage payment, then I know, okay, that roughly translates into a $650,000 mortgage. And then we add their down payment on top of that, or we work through a scenario on what to do for the proceeds of the sale of your house, like how much after you sell your house, how much equity you have. One of the things that we always go through is a buy sell scenario, and we've got a really great Excel spreadsheet, and we walk through the clients and we say, okay, if you sell your house for X amount of dollar, so minus the real estate commission, minus the HST on the real estate commission, minus your mortgage, minus the penalty, this is what you have left over. And then that buy sell scenario is really great and is a really great tool to say, okay, now that you've got X amount of equity, how do you use that to purchase the next house? So that's something that's unique in our office. I have heard clients contact us after they've gone through their bank, and their bank has not really done a really good, thorough job of explaining how much equity they have and how that equity would be used to buy their next house. So this is something that's very typical right now. So in Guelph, the average price of a detached house in the spring of 2022 was just over a million, 1.125 million. Now, and this is based on Canadian Real Estate Association average home price sales, we're seeing average home prices for a detached house in the area of about 925,000. If that same person who was purchasing a house was putting 350,000 as a down payment, you can see the difference in the interest rates on a 5-year fixed rate in spring 2022 versus now in the fall or winter of 2022. In the spring, 5-year fixed rates were somewhere in the area of 2.99%. Now they're at about 5.79%. But the really interesting thing is the monthly carrying costs are virtually the same. So now the client is getting less of a mortgage, although the interest rates are a little bit higher, the monthly carrying costs are the same. Okay. So when you're talking to your clients about upgrading, obviously they are selling for less, but they're buying for less. One of the other things that we're seeing is a lot of multi-generational households. So one of the key cohorts that are driving the real estate and housing market right now in Canada are the millennial generation. So those people who are between the ages of 25 to 40. There's a lot of them because they are the children of the boomers, and there's a lot of boomers. I'm in my late 40s. I'm 49 right now. There's not a lot of people who are between the ages of 40 and 60. That was kind of we're called I'm called a Generation X. But the multi-generational households, we're seeing a lot more of that because millennials are either have a small house or a condo that they'd like to sell. Boomers are wanting to use the equity to help their children. And Millennials also, if you're a millennial, you may have small children and need that extra support from families. So this is a real opportunity if you're a real estate agent because there may be three transactions here that you can help the particular client. You can help them sell their house. You can help the millennials sell their house and the boomers sell their house and then buy a house together. A lot of times what we're seeing too is that people are holding back some funds to do upgrades on a house. So there is a separate unit in the house for that grandparent to live in. We all are also seeing a lot of people, and this is for people who are buying and selling, buying in rural areas. So they're selling and they're moving from an urban center and moving into a rural area because rural homes, the prices are also softening. So if in Guelph, for example, you sold a house for 925,000 and have a mortgage on the property for about 300,000, you might be able to move into a property in a rural setting that has some acreage and more privacy. There are some challenges with financing rural properties, particularly because they're often on well and septic and they have acreage, and that can often affect valuation on properties. Let's switch gears a little bit to first-time home buyers. Again, this is something that we're typically seeing in our office with first-time home buyers. Like earlier this year, a house, that a first-time home buyer might buy would be somewhere in the area of 850,000. We saw a lot of our clients have 10% as a down payment. Now, a lot of our first-time home buyers are able to virtually buy that same house for 650,000. Again, if their goal was to put 10% as a down payment, that's less of a down payment. The interest rates, again, are quite a bit different, like quite a bit higher. However, if you look at the monthly carrying costs on something like that, they're virtually the same. The really cool thing about what's happening right now in the housing market, especially as it relates to first-time home buyers, is you can see there's less money down. Also, obviously, the closing costs are less, right? The land transfer tax are less, and the clients are getting less of a mortgage. So, and we're also not seeing as much competition. I was speaking to a real estate agent just yesterday, and they were saying it's really great now. We're seeing offers with financing conditions. We're seeing offers with home inspections, and this is good for everybody, including sellers, because we did see a few clients who put offers on houses. They weren't our clients, thankfully, but clients who putting offers on houses without any conditions and then not being able to close because of issues of financing. And we, had to, we do get those calls sometimes. Thankfully, they're not frequent where we had to arrange alternative or private financing. So this is what we're typically seeing with first-time home buyers. When you're talking to your first-time home buyers as a real estate agent, some of the things that you want to talk about are, and this is what we're doing, is aside from the last 2 years, so 2020 and 2021, if you erase those years, homes in Guelph and the surrounding area have appreciated by just over 6% in the last 40 years. So if we look back in 2019 or early 2020, we still are seeing good home appreciation even in the latter part of 2020 if we compare to what happened in 2019. So remember, real estate is not a get rich quick scheme, it's a get rich slow and steady strategy. And building that equity again is another consideration when you're a first time home buyer and taking that long term approach. In the area that I do mortgages, which is Guelph and like 25 kilometers out, the rental market is very competitive and expensive. So again, if you do have decent income, what we're telling our first time home buyers and have good credit history and a decent down payment and even some help from a family member, it's a really great opportunity because we're probably approaching the trough of home values. I also love working with first time home buyers because we can actually forecast what they may end up selling their house in 5 years, assuming a conservative appreciation value and how much they've paid down on their mortgage. And then we can transform that conversation into, okay, if you buy this first house for 500,000 and you have 10% as a down payment, in 5 years, that $500,000 house is probably going to be worth somewhere in the area of 580 to 610. and you pay down on the mortgage, and now you've got a good nest egg and a good amount of equity that you can apply towards your next purchase, which might be a detached house. The other thing is a realtor, if you're working with first time home buyers, we are seeing a lot more co-signers. So oftentimes I see offers come in with just what you think would be the buyers. But if a buyer has a co-signer, they also need to be included on the purchase agreement. And then the last thing we're seeing with first time home buyers as a trend is many friends who are buying together. So a lot of single people coming together to purchase a house. One of the things that we are recommending for friends who are purchasing property together as a way to get into the housing market is a cohabitation agreement, because it also spells out what the exit strategy is when friends decide to sort of not live together anymore or cash in on the equity. The Bank of Canada is going to make an interest rate announcement tomorrow. And it is, what's the date today? It's October. Let me just check here. It's October the 25th, 2022. So they will be making an interest rate adjustment announcement tomorrow. And the Bank of Canada changes its overnight lending rate, which has an impact on the different mortgage prime rates. And we are expecting an increase between 0.5 to 0.75%. Now, the challenge with the Bank of Canada is if they tighten things up and increase the rates too significantly, we might run into a recession. And I know that the Bank of Canada is cognizant of that. But when the Bank of Canada changes its overnight lending rate, it does impact variable rate mortgages. It also does impact your credit cards and lines of credit. We love working with realtors. I'm always asking for feedback. So if you have, saw this webinar, if you could put a comment in the YouTube section, and I'd love your feedback. You can always Google the Mortgage Center Guelph and do a Google review from there. Thanks so much. Have a great day, and I look forward to connecting with you.